are, where we are, what's happening in the world, which is keeps us and encourages us to operate in a tiny, tiny range of perception of possibility. And so if you can program people's perception of what is going on in the world, i.e. there's a banking crash and oh, we've got to give all this money to the banks. They've been screwing you all your life, but now you've got to pay even more through taxation to the people who have been screwing you because we got this problem and we've got to sort it out. If you are operating on that narrow band of awareness called the mainstream media, then you might say, oh yeah, I'm worried about me money, I'm worried about me house, give them the money.
Absolutely.
But when you open your mind and you see what's really happening in the world and the true nature of reality, even in the 5 sense play-out world, the movie world of everyday experience, then you start to see that actually the game is very different. And what's happening with the banking chaos is they're creating a massive problem, engineering it so that they can then offer the solution, which is a world central bank and a global banking centralized dictatorship which will control all world finance in every country.
Oh, absolutely.
And what are they now doing, Ross?
Yeah, they're doing it.
Now, as we speak, they're suggesting that this must happen to solve the problem of the chaos which the people offering the problem have actually created.
Well, do you know, this week alone, I get a press release from 10 Downing Street each week as a journalist, an update of what's being said. And those words that you said years and years ago, coming up again from Gordon Brown, working towards global governance.
Yeah.
And that's an actual press statement from our Prime Minister, working towards global governance. That worries me, because that seems to me to vindicate everything you've said about a new world order and us working towards a global government.
Well, the thing is, you know, it's a strange feeling. It's a surreal experience, because I'm now watching my books over the years unfold on the television news. And then we ask the question, okay, why do we have this incessant obsession with the centralization of power in all areas of our lives? You look back, we've had this procession through centuries and decades and now years and even getting close to hours towards more and more centralization of power on a global level. Why? Because when you're the few and you want to control the many, you have to centralize decision-making. The more diversity of decision-making that you have, the less control any central few are going to have over it. So you have to centralize decision-making, because then your decisions affect and have to be followed, at least in theory, by everyone on the planet. This is why we're getting this mantra all the time now about international law. We must have international law. What is international law? It is a law that everyone on the planet has to obey, in theory anyway. And so if you want, which is what they do want, a world government, a world central bank, a world army, an amalgamation of NATO and the UN peacekeeping operation, a world currency, electronic, no cash, and a microchip population, then what you've got to do, and this is the way they work, a process I call problem, reaction, solution, you've got to keep creating the problems, get the people to react, do something in fear and outrage, oh, look what's happening, what they're going to do about it, and then they, who've covertly created the problem, offer the solutions to the problems they've created, which is the constant centralization of power. That's what all the solutions are. And we're seeing such a wonderful example now with what's happening in the financial industry.
Absolutely.
And if we don't wake up, we're going to live in a global fascist dictatorship within 5 to 10 years.
Maybe even less.
Well, I'm definitely being optimistic with the 10. But if we do wake up and we do understand that we are not a physical body, that's a vehicle. I'm not, you know, we're not Ethel Jones and Charlie Smith. We're not the lady that works down the corner shop. There are experiences. We are consciousness, infinite consciousness that is all that has, is, and ever will be. And when you move your point of observation from I am Ethel Jones and Charlie Smith to I am infinite consciousness having an experience as Charlie Jones and Ethel Smith, you are in this world physically in terms of the way you're experiencing it. You're not of this world in terms of your point of observation, and you realize what your true power is. And when enough of us do that, this house of cards called the global conspiracy and it is a house of cards because we're holding it together, is going to come crashing down. And that's what we're going to do.
Okay, well, let's have another look at the DVD that you made at Brixton, and we'll come back in a few minutes and talk about this. Don't forget you can text into the programme 87778, type the word EDGE, leave a gap, and then your message, and we'll get that here. We'll be looking at the text in hour 2. This is David again at the Brixton Academy.
As Michael Elner said, just look at us. Everything is backwards. Everything is upside down. Doctors destroy health. Lawyers destroy justice. Universities destroy knowledge. Governments destroy freedom. The major media destroys information. And religions destroy spirituality. I think there's more to know here. And it's all true. As H.L. Mencken said, the men the American people admire most extravagantly are the greatest liars. The men they detest most violently are those who try to tell them the truth. We live in topsy-turvy land. Why is everything upside down? Everything back to front? Why are there billions of bewildered people who don't understand who they are, where they are, what the whole business of life is all about? The world seems such a ball of confusion and complexity and bewilderment. But it is when you don't have the coordinates to connect things together. Because when you connect the dots, you start to see that apparent complexity as it's played out, an apparent bewilderment as it's played out, has a very seriously clear picture that emerges. Because as you connect the dots between different people, organizations, places, religions, history, suddenly the picture starts to form. Oh, so that's it. If you don't connect the dots, it's just a mass of what's all this about. When you connect the dots, you get the elephant in the living room. You can start to see daily life and the daily news, or passes for it, and all this stuff in a completely different light. And suddenly, what seemed to be incomprehensible starts to make clearer and clearer sense. And that picture, as the dots are connected, the debts too, it's all part of it, is that there are two prime realities that we are experiencing. We're experiencing the movie. That's the movie version of reality that we're given by the mainstream media, by what passes for education, and all the other sources of mainstream information, which explain away events in the world in a certain way. But behind that, it becomes clearer as the dots join up that there is another agenda behind that, which the movie is simply there as a cover story to obscure and hide. And the foundation of that cover story, or the foundation of that secret agenda, is to get billions of people on this planet to wear a mask and play out a false identity that they don't even know is false. You know, we can talk about banking scams and political scams and secret societies, and we should and we will later on as we go through this. But what those involved in the research of all this whole conspiracy stuff, I feel, need to appreciate is if that's as far as you go and no further, then you too are playing a kind of movie. because you are looking at how it's playing out instead of the real foundation from which this whole conspiracy is based. And that is manipulating people to believe there's something